Hey guys, alright, we're going to do a deep dive into my song Gone My Way. It's out March 1st on Armada Music. It's a new collaboration with PEX L, who's this amazing producer from the Canary Islands in Spain. He sent me some stems and I was like, wow, I'm feeling this track. Let's do it. He sent me a bunch of chord stabs, bass drops, all these different elements that were super inspiring. Sent me a very rough bounce and I thought, well, maybe I can add my own little progressive flair. Maybe we can merge our different skills and talents. He's better at more of the complextro stuff. I'm better at the progressive and vocal things. And it was a true 50-50 partnership. We really came in and really added all of our own unique strengths and weaknesses to it. So actually just the strengths, not the weaknesses. So let's take a listen to the track real quick.
Don't tell me lies when you're sorry. Don't make me walk when I'm running. When I'm running. I don't forget what you promised. You won't come back in the story. In the story. On my way alone, yeah. On my way alone.
Let's get right to the drop. So as you can hear, it's definitely a hybrid of there's two different sounds. The drop is more complextro, the breakdowns and the builds much more progressive, much more about the chord stabs, and that's really about what you leave in the track. What's doing the call? What's doing the response? What's enough room for each element to breathe? So things are taking turns. It's almost like a radio dial spinning through, and you're giving each element its own time. Even the drum fills have their own little pocket in space where it's almost like the drum fill is just soloed in there, and I've cropped out everything else except the drums. So let's take a look at some of these little mini elements that are happening in here. We've got some Voyager sounds that were in Omnisphere, part of the new hardware library, which is amazing. It's almost like a DJ Mustard sound where you've got a fifth up, you've got a couple of different octaves. And at the end of the song, I really went deep on it. So super present sound. I love that whole Omnisphere library in the 2.5 update. And I went through and I chopped up a bunch of stuff. I took a bunch of the stems I had, I added some new stems, one-shots from Oliver's Splice library, different tables, different parts in the wave table, different one-shots. So it's almost like doing a very crude synth. I think that's 3 different samples from that pack in the same key, just repitched into the key of the song. Underneath that, there's the sub. Everything's taking its own little turn here. So PEX L did a lot of those more complex bass parts in there. I came in, did the leads, did some more stabs. We both kind of did our own thing on the track. And it wasn't like one person did the drop, one person did the break. I came in and just added what I felt was missing, and I thought the track was already a good part of the way there. I just needed a little extra tension, a little extra emotion, and some arrangement changes. Let's hear that drop again. So as you can see, everywhere throughout there's space. There's little pockets. You want space for that groove to really work. And typically I'll flatten most of the channels like this. Freeze and flatten. A couple things didn't get frozen down, and it's really important to do that because sound like this, the sawtooth has a lot of reverb on it, but you're not going to see that. Taking up all that space right there. So really important to freeze, flatten, trim, and then fade and taper that audio. Really shape it the way you want it. So let's go through and see what other elements we had. We had the vocal. The vocal was from a sample pack, surprisingly. First time I've ever done that in a track. I always have a vocalist here in studio or the recording with an engineer in another studio somewhere around the world. Couple different chops, different samples. There's a male hey sample in there. And I love doing those chops. I'll typically chop the vowels just to add the oohs, the e's, the ahs, something there to add a little tension and add a little repetition, put a filter on it, automate it. a little pitch shifting. Let's hear the vocal in the breakdown, because that's really the main area where I've provided that space for it.
Don't tell me lies when you're sorry. Don't make me walk when I'm running. When I'm running. Don't forget what you promised. You won't come back in the story. In the story. Like my way alone, yeah.
So that's the basic hook. Super simple processing on this. Typically I use Waves Maserati VX1 or CLA vocal chain on there. But with this, it's just simple high pass. The vocals already had some processing on it. Using the stock generic compressor, slow attack, fast release. Using FabFilter Pro R. Their reverb is amazing. I'm using this as pretty much the only reverb on my sessions except for UAD stuff if I want a plate or something cool on there. So I love the Pro R. And I love that you can sync the pre-delay to the host tempo. It's really cool.
Don't tell me lies when you're sorry. Don't make me walk when I'm running.
So to provide that space, I've filtered a lot of the pads and things. You've got the sub going.
Don't tell me lies when you're sorry. Don't make me walk when I'm running.
And there's some stuff happening in the background.
Don't tell me lies when you're sorry. Don't make me walk when I'm running. When I'm running. Don't forget what you promised.
So block piano chords, just sustained piano chords, great for writing songs. But you know, you need a little more of that rhythmic tension, something else driving the rhythm forward.
Yeah.
So when it builds, it goes more progressive. So I've got an Ableton wavetable. That original synth was done by PEX L in FL Studio, so I don't even know what he used. Maybe one of the built-in synths. But I'm using a bunch of different octaves of Serum, Ableton wavetable, and some bass stabs. Couple of instances of Nexus just to get that detuned layer. Another little Ableton wavetable in there. So just combining a bunch of different sources. I love it because Nexus is so different from Serum and Wavetable, even though they have similarities, still pretty different sounding synths to me, personally. You need a little more processing on Wavetable, but it can sound amazing. And you've got this great interface that you can just drag out. So I love that. And I love all those updates in Ableton 10. The ability to fade and taper your audio is just huge. Okay, let's listen to the drums real quick. Drums on the drop. Simple kick, simple clap and snare, pre-shifted snares. Some old school loops in there. And the fills are really important. I love these fills. So very recognizable break in there. And those are some great fills that PEX L had. So those have their own space. I've really carved out that in the arrangement. Let those drums just take a break, and then the fill comes in. So I'll swap those out. What else do we have here? Also, we have some leads. I took some Omnisphere leads that I use, this trumpety Don Diablo sound that I love. And as you can see, when you flatten those out, you see how long those tails are. It's all taking up tons of information. So really important to go in there. And I probably could have even cropped those even more, faded them in. But that, you know, some of that reverb tail, it's really important that that's getting side-chained. So I like to have that pump a little bit, add a little bit. So it's always a balancing game. How much do you want that to pump? How much should just be cleared out entirely? You know, is it the lead? Is it a supporting role? What does it play in the role of serving the song? So the vocal and all those little complextro bass and lead elements, they're all alternating because there's a lot going on, but it's not as much as you would think because everything has its own little pocket in there, its own break, its own moment where it shines. So that's a quick look at my song Gone My Way. It's out March 1st, Armada Music. Make sure to save it to your playlist. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.